Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Trade Pros. I hope everyone's having a great day today. It is Friday the 28th. We've got, one more trading day in August, and we're going to wrap up the month. And we're going to get ready for September, the month that we've all been waiting for and a lot of traders have been waiting for. Get some more volatility, get some more movement, and we're super excited about that. So to wrap up this week, let's go over what happened yesterday. Let's go over what news we've got today, what happened overnight, and how we could get ready for today's trading day. So in today's markets, we had in Asia, Japan down 1.4%. We're going to talk about why they had a pretty drastic drop. Hong Kong up 0.6%, China up 1.6%, and India up nearly 1%, 0.9%. In Europe, midday, London down 0.2%, Paris down 0.4%, Frankfurt down 0.7%. U.S. futures, the Dow was up 0.5%. S&P 0.4. We did manage to break that 3,500 mark. I was looking for that 3,500 yesterday. Time and time again, kept missing me about a point to 2 points off that 3,500. Overnight, we crack it. We bust through, nearly hit 3,510. And now let's see where we get to today. NASDAQ was flat. NASDAQ a little more of a lagger in terms of these all-time highs. We've seen NASDAQ hit all-time high day after day after day. And it seems like it's starting to slow down now that the S&P has kind of caught up to it. We saw crude oil down 0.2%, now slightly up off the open here. We saw gold up 1.3%. Gold nearly hit 1975, so a pretty substantial rally here in the gold market overnight. So we also saw Bitcoin up 0.4%. And in today's news, we have international trade in goods advance orders. At 8:30, retail inventories, 8:30, wholesale inventories, 8:30, personal income and outlays, 8:30. So these have all passed. Chicago PMI coming up at 9:45 today. Consumer sentiment at 10. Baker Hughes rig count 1 p.m. and farm price at 3 p.m. So we also have the second day of the Jackson Hole Symposium, which we're going to watch very carefully today, as yesterday was a pretty big market mover. We got a lot of volatility from it. We got a lot of swings from it, and it was an amazing opportunity for us all. So Thursday's earnings after hours, we saw Dell Technologies report up 1.7% on consumer and infrastructure strength. Gap up 6.5% after hours following an online sales rush and increase in online sales. That's amazing. We saw that pop. HP Inc. up 3.3% after hours, guiding above full year consensus. TD Bank up 0.2%. Helped by wealth and wholesale revenue. VMware down 0.6% after hours despite rising subscription revenue. So let's talk about what we saw yesterday in the Jackson Hole Symposium. In a new policy framework from the Fed, agreed to by all 17 Fed officials, the central banks, it would allow inflation to run above the typical allotted 2%. So for some period of time, this is known as an average inflation target. So the new policy framework said the committee seeks to achieve inflation that averages 2% over time and therefore judges that following periods when inflation has been running persistently below 2%, appropriate monetary policy will likely aim to achieve inflation moderately above 2% for some time. So before to kind of average that down and keep hold of inflation below 2%, we saw rate hikes. Now, we're not talking about rate hikes anymore. Rates are pretty much lows here, and if they were to hike, it'd keep inflation lower. So they're like, hey, do whatever you want. Let's pop that 2%. So the Fed also removed its bias against strong labor markets. Support for strong labor markets would not have come from a central banker generations ago. In the past, strong labor markets for Fed officials meant that higher inflation was just around the corner and a reason to tap the brakes and raise interest rates, even if there was no sign of higher prices. So Powell didn't really elaborate on what he meant by above 2%, right? Moderately above 2%. We didn't really understand what that really meant from Jerome Powell himself. But later on Thursday, Dallas Fed President Robert Kaplan said that it meant an inflation target between 2%, 2.25% and 2.5% annual rate. So St. Louis Fed President James Bullard said the details needed to be avoided to achieve consensus. So we see the Jackson Hole wrapping up today as a 2-day virtual symposium concludes with its last live stream of central bankers and other influential officials. Probably not seeing Jerome Powell today, so it's going to be less of a market move. But those voting Fed members, doves or hawks, whatever they are, the voting Fed members are going to have an impact on the market depending on what they say. So nothing is likely to compare to what Jerome Powell said yesterday, which will have a transformative effect on the U.S. monetary policy for the foreseeable future. The central bank said it will keep interest rates low to help prop up the pandemic ravaged economy, even if inflation rises above its target level of 2% for periods of time. So, stock prices, bond prices, metals all made several U turns on the news, while equities attempted for another green session overnight, as we saw the S&P 500 push that 3510 level, and Dow futures and S&P futures up a half and 0.4% respectively, while we saw NASDAQ kind of flatline. We also saw some surprise news yesterday in terms of tech and TikTok. So we saw a surprise joint force for the race for TikTok as Walmart decided to join forces with Microsoft to buy US assets of the popular short video app. So the bid could total about 30 billion or more. And as odd as the two together seem, CNBC reports that Walmart originally sought majority ownership of TikTok in its consortium with Alphabet, so Google, and SoftBank. So we believe a potential relationship could provide Walmart with an important way for us to reach. Comment on YouTube. No, goodbye. So instead, if you want better credit, just send me your 10-digit credit card number. Don't do this. So that's what I was saying. I can't. Okay. They said, so we believe a potential relationship could provide Walmart with an important way for us to reach and serve omni-channel consumers and customers, as well as grow our third-party marketplace and advertising businesses. So that was the company statement. And Oracle is another US company vying to acquire the assets of TikTok, and parent BitDance is expected to pick a bidder to enter into executive talks as early as today. So we also saw a lot of news overnight. We saw why Japan actually dropped so much. The resignation of Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe due to health reasons saw the Nikkei fall 1.4% overnight. So while the safe haven yen strengthened about 0.5% against the dollar as a political uncertainty might prompt money to come home, monetary and fiscal policies will remain intact for now, but the mood will sour like it did last time, said Soma, a bond trader at Monex in Tokyo. It is going to take a long time for Japan to see a long-standing administration again, said Abe, who has battled chronic disease for years. Now returned as prime minister for a rare second term in December 2012, pledging to revive growth in his Abenomics mix of hyper easy monetary policy, fiscal spending, and reforms. In other news, we have to bring it back to the States, and in a move that would substantially expand the nation's capacity to test more rapidly, the Trump administration has unveiled a $750 million deal to buy 150 million rapid COVID-19 tests from Abbott laboratories. So there's some major development that will help our country to remain open, get Americans back to work, get kids back to school. White House senior advisor Alyssa Farah declared. So Abbott said that the new antigen test is about nearly the size of a credit card. I really have one on me here. Shouldn't probably show it on YouTube, but probably 2 times the size of this. So maybe less, actually. So 1.5 of these, pretty small. Has demonstrated sensitivity about 95% and could return results in about 15 minutes. So pretty good. In tech news, we saw Amazon has introduced a wristband for health and fitness tracking called Halo, priced at $65, $64.99, alongside a subscription service and smartphone app. It brings some new offerings, including technology to track people's body fat percentages, sleep temperature, and their emotional state. So as well as 2 microphones and LED light, but notably lacks a screen. Interesting. So it's Amazon's first significant move into wearables, which Gartner estimates will have a market value of about 50 billion in 2020. In terms of aviation news, we got Boeing's grounded 737 MAX taking a major leap towards returning to the skies after the European Union Aviation Safety Agency said that it would send pilots to Canada to conduct tests and flight tests, bypassing coronavirus-related travel curbs. So the EASA will carry out the validation flights from Vancouver during the week of September 7th, 2 months after the FAA and Boeing completed certification test flights in the US. So followed by Canada this week, Boeing recently reeled in its first 737 MAX order this year as Poland's Enter Air placed an order for 2 jets with options to buy 2 more, Boeing up about 1% pre-market. So in terms of the last little piece of news here, Hurricane Laura appears to have narrowly missed the heart of the U.S. fuel making and chemical infrastructure along the Gulf Coast and caused less of a mayhem than we originally, or not me, but than they originally predicted and forecasted. Now, officials still had to cope with a chlorine leak and fire at Biolab, a chemical manufacturing facility in Lake Charles, LA area, and Motiva Enterprises reported a leak at its Port Arthur, Texas refinery, but said it occurred during the shutdown of the refinery before the hurricane actually arrived. So while Laura has been downgraded to tropical depression, almost 800,000 homes and businesses across Louisiana, Texas, and Arkansas are still without power. So a large power outage that could continue for quite some time. So we're wishing everyone the best of luck in those areas. I hope everyone stays safe, and let's get ready for our morning market update here. We're going to jump in the room. Having thrown a plethora of news in front of everyone, we're going to wrap up and see what the Jackson Hole has to offer in today's last day. We just saw oil pretty aggressive spike while equities are kind of flatlining here. Just under 250,000 contracts. I just looked at it, trade on the S&P. Not bad, not great, but we're going to get some movement here into the end of the week. We're gearing up for an eventful September, it seems, especially into the election year. Typically, September is a great month for traders to come out of their little shells and look at the markets. A lot of people are coming back to their desks. There's going to be a lot of volume. There's going to be a lot of movement and even more opportunity. So I hope everyone keeps that in mind. And we're going to jump in our room right now to see what kind of trades we got going for today. What are we going to do today? How many trades are we going to place? Is it going to be one of those more volatile days, or are we going to have to scale it back? So if you guys want a community to do that with, come join us at TRADEPRO Academy, and we'll see you guys there.